Now, why did I do that? Well, I did it because I wanted to make sure that we saw whether or not there would be any residual effects from Breanna Stewart coming out holding us.
Those were the words of someone who saw it coming. He deliberately waited for Monday's ratings because he understood what most people didn't. Breanna Stewart's Abolish ICE protest wasn't just controversial. It was about to serve as a case study in how to tank an already struggling league's viewership. And when the numbers finally came in, they were far worse than anyone had expected.
Well, there was. But I think there was another indictment of this league as well. Number one, this is the worst I've ever seen their ratings. Monday's ratings, and we'll get there. We're going to do Friday, Saturday, and Monday. But it also shows you how few people outside of, if I'm just being real, some activist fans are watching.
And that's the indictment right there. When your ratings hit an all-time low and barely anyone notices because there were so few viewers to begin with, you're not facing a controversy problem. You're facing an existence problem. Unrivaled just posted numbers so catastrophic that TNT executives are probably holding emergency meetings right now about that $16 million contract they signed. But to really understand how we got here, we need to rewind and look at what the league was claiming just 7 days before this disaster.
Now, in case you don't remember, this was just 7 days ago. All right, a 48% increase over 2025. $40 million in league revenue in its second season. And I was like, interesting. And what made that interesting is, well, the media rights deal from TNT is 16.667.
A 48% revenue increase sounds impressive until you break down the numbers. Season 2 brought in $40 million total, but $16.667 million of that came from a single source, the TNT media rights deal. That's a 6-year contract with a 3-year opt-out, meaning TNT could walk away as early as 2027. And here's the kicker. The WNBA just inked a media rights deal worth over $200 million per year. Unrivaled is pulling in $16 million total. That's not a media deal. It's basically a charitable donation. The rest of that $40 million? Purely investor money. Not basketball revenue. Not merchandise. Not ticket sales. Just investors writing checks, hoping this experiment eventually pays off.
And this $40 million revenue is not basketball generated. This is investor generated. Well, at some point, investors want returns. They want to see what was generated. So let's just jump into this. This is Friday, okay? Last Friday. This is prior to Breanna Stewart. Right here, the Phantom versus Vinyl, TNT, did 30,000 viewers in the 18 to 49 ad demographic. The Mist and Rose, 30,000 viewers in the ad demographic. That same game, I guess, was the Phantom Vinyl game, was simulcast on True TV, did another 20,000 viewers. Look at these ranks as far as actual.
Let's break down what happened over those 3 days, because the timeline tells the real story. Friday, January 31st, before Breanna Stewart's protest, Phantom vs. Vinyl on TNT drew just 30,000 viewers in the 18 to 49 demographic. Mist vs. Rose matched that with another 30,000. Meanwhile, Phantom vs. Vinyl on True TV added 20,000 more. For context, cable ratings estimate total viewership at roughly 4 times the demo number, meaning these games pulled around 120,000 total viewers on a good night. In the overall cable rankings, these games landed at 131st, 125th, and 229th. Saturday, February 1st, Lunar Owls vs. Breeze drew 30,000 in the demo, ranking 143rd overall. Laces vs. Vinyl pulled 20,000, placing 167th. Some games may have drawn fewer than 100,000 total viewers. And remember, This was all before the controversy erupted.
Let me take you back over the weekend. Right? Breanna Stewart explains her abolish ICE sign. She came out holding this sign right here, abolish ICE. I made a video on that, and I triggered some of the retards that were subscribed to this channel, and I waved at them as they went right off into the sunset. The next day I replaced every one of them with a follow-up video. All those subs came back. Not those people, but, people with common sense came back. Blew right past them. So I got them back, plus some. And Breanna Stewart, of course, run her mouth with this, abolish ICE, which means having policies to uplift families and communities instead of fueling fear and violence.
This was the moment everything shifted. During warm-ups, Breanna Stewart stepped onto the court holding a sign that read, abolish ICE. Her stated reason: she called for policies that uplift families and communities instead of fueling fear and violence, insisting that human lives are at stake. Within hours, the backlash exploded, not just from casual viewers, but from the core audience still tuned in. What made this moment particularly tone-deaf was the timing. It came just days after the conclusion of the Lake and Riley murder trial. Lake and Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student at the University of Georgia, had been killed in February by an undocumented immigrant. By late January 2025, the case had become a highly charged flashpoint in the immigration debate. Stewart, however, made no mention of Lake and Riley or the victim's family. Her focus remained entirely on a political statement targeting the federal agency responsible for deportations.
Well, it got worse on Monday. This is Monday's ratings right here. The Lunar Owls versus the Hive had 50,000 viewers. Wow, that's kind of a miracle, frankly. That's kind of a miracle. But their total viewership still wasn't good. 130th in the total rank. This was on TNT, folks. And then you got down to the Laces versus the Breeze. This was on TNT, not on True TV. It registered an NA. You see this, a .02 or below. Or below. Total rank, NA. Didn't even rank. Didn't even rank on the cable ratings, total viewers. Didn't show up.
Monday, February 3rd, that's when things turned catastrophic. The Lunar Owls versus Laces game on TNT drew 50,000 viewers in the 18 to 49 demo. At first glance, that sounds like an uptick, but in context, it's still just 130th in total cable viewership. The total audience likely hovered around 200,000, which for a TNT primetime slot is practically a rounding error. Then came the second game of the night, Laces versus Breeze, also on TNT, not True TV. The ratings? Nah, that's not just low. It means the viewership fell below 0.02%. It literally didn't register. Nielsen couldn't generate a meaningful number because almost nobody tuned in. Think about that for a second. A professional basketball league, backed by a $16 million media rights deal from Turner Sports, aired a game on national television that was so unseen it didn't even appear in the ratings. This wasn't a bad night. It was a full-blown death spiral. And here's the kicker. Unrivaled was supposed to be the backup plan, a safety net, while WNBA players negotiated the new collective bargaining agreement and considered opting out if revenue-sharing demands weren't met. Instead, this disaster exposed just how fragile the league's viewership reality had become.